Hey there, today we are factoring trinomials with a equal to 1. And what that a equal to 1 means is that there's not going to be a number besides 1 right there, which we actually don't even write the 1 because if there is no number, it's implied as a multiplier of 1. So you're just going to start with an x squared. So FOIL tells us that you can multiply two binomials together and you get a polynomial of that sort. We're trying to factor a polynomial now. We're trying to go backwards so that we can have it look like that. We're trying to break it apart. And so to do this, we're going to look for numbers that add to b and multiply to c. So here's a hint. You look at the last term, at the last value in the polynomial. If the last term is positive, then the two numbers that you're multiplying together must both be positive or they both must be negative, because a negative times a negative is a positive, and so is a positive times a positive. If that last term is negative, well, then they're telling you there's an indication that one number must be positive and one number must be negative. That's a good way to start narrowing down the options. So we're trying to factor x squared minus 3x minus 18. So again, we're trying to multiply to a negative 18. And so I make this x just to organize my thoughts. So I can think about numbers that multiply to 18 and then add to negative 3. I'll highlight where I got these numbers from. Numbers that multiply to negative 18 and add to negative 3. And so start with the ways to multiply to 18, because there's not actually that many ways to multiply to negative 18. So you can also use a factor sheet. So on your factor sheet, you'll see this as the ways, these are the ways to multiply to 18. Of course, if it's negative 18 though, so one of the numbers has to be negative. Now notice I made the list again and I moved the negative to the other numbers, the larger numbers on the right side of your factor pairs. These numbers all add to positives, and I'm trying to add to a negative 3. So I know it needs to come from my bottom list down here, and this pair multiplies to negative 18 because these are the only 6 ways to multiply to negative 18 with integers. But the pair I just circled, that's the pair that also adds to negative 3. So then we put these into factored form. Those numbers that I found, 3 and negative 6, go behind the x's in factored form, like that. And so this is a good answer. This is 100% correct. So is this, x minus 6 times x plus 3. The 6 has to be negative, the 3 has to be positive, but the order that you put those binomials in doesn't really matter. Let's try number 2. We're looking for ways to multiply to negative 12 and add to, oh, what's the coefficient here? What number is there? That's a 1. I'm trying to add to positive 1. So again, start with the ways to multiply to 12. 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. But it's a negative 12, so one of the numbers needs to be negative. Now, these options will only add to positives, which I'm actually trying to add to a positive 1. But just, it's good to keep in mind, folks, that when you make that list, there is also this second list where you switch the negative over to the other side. But it's this pair right here that multiplies to negative 12, like all the other pairs do that I have here. But that pair also adds to positive 1. So x minus 3 times x plus 4. Again, if you were to FOIL this together, so this is my answer. This is the factored form. But if I were to multiply that together, I would get the original polynomial. Let's try the next one. We're trying to multiply to 24 and add to negative 11. So ways to multiply to 24, 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Well, none of these ways add to negative 11. But since we're trying to multiply to a positive times a positive is a positive, I could do a negative times a negative. So I can make negative 1, negative 24, negative 2, negative 12, negative 3, negative 8, negative 4, negative 6. and -3, -8 is the pair. So x minus 3 times x minus 8. There we are. Last but not least, example number 4. Looking for ways to multiply to 36 and add to 15. So both numbers are going to have to be either positive or both negative. The signs have to match since I'm multiplying to a positive. And since this is adding to a positive plus a positive is a positive, whereas a negative plus a negative is an even bigger negative. So 1 and 30. So what number does it here? Well, I better, I guess, start making the list. Oh, there we go, 3 and 12. So x plus 3 times x plus 12. There we are. Nice.